Hello everyone, this is Mixed Awesome Manatee. Today in MXA News, we will be discussing the Supreme Court and their sponsors, what's going on with the political arena of the United States, Bolivia giving a firmly worded expletive to an attempted coup, a shift in French politics, more fallouts from bigots and groomers tripping over themselves, and why was there such a large outage of computer systems? Another exciting day at MXA News. In political news, the Supreme Court revoked authority from departments of safety. Previously, judges would have had to defer to agencies for their expertise on issues known as the Chevron Deference. So in food-related cases, judges referred to the FDA. In nature conservation, they referred to the EPA. In bankruptcy and corruption, they referred to Donald Trump. However, after overturning the precedent, judges are free to make their own calls without those pesky interruptions of facts and regulations. If a judge decided that anti-vaxxing was the way to go, no amount of hell from the Department of Health could stop the judge. This is considered a major victory for conservatives who were looking to defeat actions against climate change, giving big oil permission to dump as much trash as they want into the ocean, and to pump as much smoke as they want into the air we breathe. Speaking of the Supreme Court, what do Clarence Thomas and Al Capone have in common? Tax evasion. Thomas is notorious for how open his wallet is, from the lavish gifts he receives to an undeclared $267,000 loan received from Anthony Walters. This is a problem because under Section 108 of the IRS tax code, he'd have to report the loan as taxable income, which would have been as high as $40,000 to $50,000. But when have conservatives ever been about following the law? After months and months of unpopularity, the old bastard Biden finally steps down. The DNC intends to replace Biden with Kamala Harris in a wonderful twist of irony as the Back the Blue crowd endorses a felon versus a woman with a long career in law enforcement. This comes after Donald Trump had a narrow brush with a 20-year-old with a grudge, though some question the legitimacy of the attempted assassination. But speaking of legitimacy, Secret Service Kimberly Cheatle steps down after coming under investigation for the mentioned incident and the Secret Service's conduct during January 6th. More and more, the Secret Service seems to have been slipping up. Will they ever recover from their blunder? And in more political news, Ron DeSantis wants to protect your children from less work hours by allowing companies to hire them for more hours. Sure, children can't be trusted to read, but they can get a dangerous job. If good old Ronnie didn't piss on Floridians enough, he also took away regulations requiring companies to give employees water and heat breaks. He called them problematic. Sure, 5,867 employees dying a year isn't a problem. It's those goddamn water breaks. In international news, American news corporations demonize Bolivia for defending its right of self-determination. They describe Bolivia in the general, it's an unstable country, as they do when they try to manufacture consent. Why is it that Bolivia is on the brunt end of demonization, but nations like aren't held to the same scrutiny? Apparently, Bolivia found an assload of lithium. On top of that, under Morales' term, the nation had a reduction from 7.7% employment to 4.4%. He had empowered unions in collective bargaining, which resulted in a minimum wage increase by 140%. Morales was able to combat poverty by allocating direct payments to 5.8 million of its citizens. In contrast to President Morales, his opposition, Jeanine Áñez, described Morales' indigenous religious practices as satanic and rails against allowing the savages to return to power. But who does the United States choose? This wouldn't be the first time the United States supported a coup against a nation's right of self-determination. They also supported coups against
Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala.
Again, establishment discusses at length of how Russian troll bots attempt to manipulate American elections, but excuse themselves from that same level of scrutiny in regards to presently active situations. Jan Schakowsky and Jesus Garcia suggested for Congress to investigate the role of the OAS in Bolivia over the past year and ensure that taxpayer dollars do not contribute to the overthrow of democratically elected governments, civil conflicts, or human rights violations. Hopefully they get on that soon. In more international news, after the far-right got snubbed in a French election, the New Popular Front keeps recommending ministers, while Macron rejects them in an effort to maintain a centrist position within the French government. Union leaders discuss keeping up pressure on the centrist government, while the New Popular Front's priority will be to maintain and grow the majority within the government. In entertainment news, washed-up transphobe celebrity Grant Lineham is under investigation for doxing a trans woman. In being a perpetually divorced battletoad, he also goes out of his way to dead-name trans women on Twitter, making an entire career of it. He has yet to learn that transphobia isn't acceptable after having to pay a £28,000 settlement to a woman he slandered, getting banned from Twitter a few times, evading the bans by creating alternative accounts, losing his family and marriage, and leaving him without work opportunities. I thought it was go woke, go broke, they say. He almost had a musical of the show Father Ted in line for production, but he also insisted that all of the crew sign a declaration agreeing with his views about trans people.
Only the farm takes up most of the day, and at night I just like a cup of tea. I might be able to devote myself full-time to the old racism.
The production was cancelled after many left the production uncomfortable. Lineham also engages in more slander and defamation against David Tennant, a much more successful entertainer, and slanders H by the usual tired arguments of their groomers. After railing against cancel culture, David Lineham also threatened to sue any venue that canceled his comedy gigs. Graham, I didn't know if you knew this, but threatening to sue somebody for kicking off unfunny comedians is a form of cancel culture. And speaking of transphobic brain rot, Grant Lineham also begged J.K. Rowling for attention. For anyone who isn't under a rock, J.K. Rowling is the author of Harry Potter who doesn't make her views about trans people a secret. Well, Grant Lineham had this to say.
J.K. Rowling, please share this, this story. It would get across to so many more people, and I'm not sure if I've hurt your feelings or what, but you never tweet anything I do or say. I hope it's just a misunderstanding.
J.K. Rowling has been no ally to trans women, this being the result.
There was no way she could have known, but this was the moment that Brianna Jai left her home for the last time. A Saturday morning, on her way to meet people she thought were her friends.
It's 5:07. There's a vigil this weekend for a non-binary student in Oklahoma who mysteriously died 2 weeks ago.
Last Thursday, Cobalt Sovereign had to go to the bathroom at Hopkins High School.
I was attempting to use the restroom. I actually did not get to until like an hour later at the hospital.
The hospital, where she stayed for 2 days to repair serious injuries.
Keep in mind, while they're assaulting her, she was using the bathroom demanded of her. She was born a male using the men's restroom. This didn't happen in the women's restroom. This is happening in the men's restroom. So Rowling and Lineham feigned concern for children's safety. It was never about the women's bathrooms, just like Jim Crow was never about the water fountains. This is the violent culture instigated by Grant Lineham and J.K. Rowling. And child defender J.K. Rowling, who accuses trans people of being groomers, also had this to say about the book Lolita. Spoilers, by the way, Lolita was about Humber Humber, a fully grown man that falls in love with Dolores Hayes, a 12-year-old child. So next time you call me a groomer, I'm going to remind you of your favorite book, Joanna.
Yes, science!
Category 5 Hurricane Beryl devastated the Caribbean and parts of the United States. But there were supposed to be 2 more hurricanes following, and yet, nothing. Why is that? Saharan dust storms. Wind will pick up sand from the Saharan desert and disrupt any weather patterns forming in the Atlantic. Next time you see a whirlpool or sink in the bathtub, just throw an object in to see how it disrupts the swirl pattern. While this dust storm reduces potential devastation, it taints the air quality as the dust storms go as far as Florida, giving them dirty rainstorms. Each raindrop being filled with the sand from the Saharan desert, it's recommended to stay indoors and avoid this dirty rain. This Saharan dust can also affect crops and people with breathing conditions as they inhale the dust. Several million Windows operating systems or computers went out during an outage, which affected many businesses, including airlines, hospitals, corporations, and so on. They are recovered now. This level of technical outage is unprecedented. 1,500 flights were canceled, while another 4,600 were delayed from the glitch. Many people cite our need for technology as being the reason for this delay, yet this fails to address why one company was in charge of so many people's regular business function. Why are so many people using one system, and why is one group in charge of this system? Something different needs to happen to avoid such a cataclysmic event. And in our highlight of the month, yay, furry hackers have cracked into the files of Project 2025. This is Mix Awesome Manatee. Thank you so much for staying this long, and keep fighting the good fight.